Few films attain true cinematic grandeur, but Gladiator is more than just an epic. It is a masterpiece. The ultimate battle between Maximus and Commodus is important to the emotional and thematic weight of the story. A moment of tremendous drama, genuine emotion, and poetic justice. But what gives this scene so much power? How does it elevate Gladiator from spectacle to legend? In this video, we'll look at the writing, cinematography, and performances that made this showdown memorable. Let's enter the arena and discover the brilliance of Gladiator's defining moment.
You're a man who once said death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back.
In Gladiator's climactic last combat, the betrayed general-turned-slave Maximus confronts Emperor Commodus in the Colosseum. Russell Crowe plays Maximus, and his strong performance in Gladiator earned him the Academy Award for Best Actor. Crowe provides depth and emotion to the role of Maximus, playing him as a powerful warrior, a loyal general, and a bereaved man seeking justice. His depiction of Maximus encompasses both the character's physical might and emotional fragility, making him one of cinema's most famous characters. Crowe's imposing presence, combined with Ridley Scott's direction, transforms Gladiator from a historical epic into a timeless masterpiece. Before the combat, Commodus cowardly wounds Maximus in private, giving him an unfair edge. Despite his injury, Maximus fights fiercely and defeats Commodus in a terrible yet poetic confrontation. As the crowd watches in stunned silence, Maximus eventually destroys the corrupt emperor, restoring honor to Rome before succumbing to his wounds. His death is bittersweet. He is finally reunited with his family in the afterlife, but his legacy as a hero continues. The scene begins in a dimly lit holding room beneath the Colosseum, where Maximus is shackled. Commodus, aware that he cannot win properly, stabs Maximus in the side before the fight. This behavior exemplifies Commodus's weakness. He seeks victory, but hates genuine fight. This event cements his reputation as a cowardly ruler, in stark contrast to Maximus, who has always fought honorably. The scene is intended to deprive Commodus of any remaining legitimacy as emperor, making his eventual demise seem like justice. The low-key lighting creates harsh shadows, highlighting his physical fragility and imminent death. The contrast between the darkness of this chamber and the bright golden light of the Colosseum above symbolizes Maximus's fight between life and death. Commodus dominates the scene, standing over Maximus and stabbing him in the side. This scene is framed in a tight close-up, emphasizing Commodus's cowardice. When Maximus is hoisted and armored for the fight, the low-angle shot makes him appear strong again, demonstrating his tenacity despite the wound. The sound of Commodus speaking and the sword penetrating Maximus's side is amplified and intimate, making the treachery feel even more personal. As the scene shifts to the Colosseum, the music gradually swells, indicating the tremendous clash ahead. The fight begins with Commodus boldly pushing forward, while Maximus, weakened by blood loss, struggles to maintain pace. Maximus begins to walk slowly, his vision dimming, and takes a defensive stance. Commodus swings violently, but his attacks are sloppy despite the wound. Maximus's talent keeps him alive. The audience watches in startled silence, unsure what to anticipate. As the fight begins, the camera takes a wide picture to depict the magnificent expanse of the Colosseum and the spectators. The camera remains slightly unstable, portraying the tumult of the moment and Maximus's frail health. Maximus's point-of-view images depict a blurry and unfocused area, adding to his dizziness caused by blood loss. Unlike many Hollywood action scenes, this bout is shot in longer takes, with restrained editing, keeping the fight raw and authentic rather than artificially orchestrated. The fight begins slowly, with Maximus plainly straining, but as he finds his rhythm, the rate of cuts picks up, heightening the action. Each sword clash is punctuated by tight close-ups of Commodus's terrified features, which reveal his mounting anxiety. The bright, sunny Colosseum contrasts with the previous dark room, symbolizing Maximus's return to grandeur, even in death. Commodus, clothed in white, stands out against Maximus's darker armor, implying false purity versus true dignity. Before we dig deeper and understand the scene better, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button to make sure that you get similar breakdowns of exceptional movie scenes. It would mean a lot to us. Maximus maintains his composure throughout the fight. He begins parrying Commodus's attacks with precision. Commodus panics, seeing his lead fading. In desperation, Commodus pours sand into Maximus's eyes. However, Maximus recovers fast and disarms him. Maximus uses a final decisive move to pin Commodus against the wall. Crow's performance is critical here, as his gestures grow more controlled and decisive, while Joaquin Phoenix's Commodus begins to indicate desperation, with minor eye-darting and breathlessness. Commodus resorts to dirty tricks, throwing sand at Maximus, which is filmed in a slow-motion insert shot to highlight his cowardice. Commodus dies by his own weapon, much like how he has used deception to kill others throughout the film. Unlike Maximus, who is recognized and remembered, Commodus dies alone, unloved, and undeserving of grief. Maximus does not gloat or rejoice in his victory. Instead, he allows Commodus to fall, demonstrating that he seeks justice rather than vengeance. The audience's cheers are muffled at violent scenes, immersing the viewers in Maximus's losing consciousness. The sword strikes are sharp and steely, lending weight to each movement. When Maximus disarms Commodus, the camera tilts slightly upward to represent his dominance. A medium close-up of Commodus's frightened expression emphasizes his helplessness. Commodus, disarmed and pummeled, draws a hidden knife, but he is too slow, and Maximus snatches his arm. Maximus turns the dagger on him and plunges it into Commodus's throat. Commodus stumbles, eyes wide with amazement, before falling. The camera stays on his lifeless body, as the Colosseum remains strangely silent. Commodus, now entirely unprotected, attempts to draw a dagger, but Maximus uses his own weapon against him. The framing shows Commodus in the center, with Maximus somewhat off-center, implying that this moment is about more than simply revenge for Rome. The music crescendos into a victorious yet mournful swell, indicating Maximus's impending demise. The sound design discreetly reduces the audience's cheers, making the occasion feel personal rather than staged. Commodus's execution is fast and unceremonious, echoing how he murdered his own father as a tragically ironic storyline. A long shot of Maximus as Commodus falls emphasizes his tiredness and dissatisfaction. Maximus, mortally wounded, gradually falls. His arduous journey has come to an end, as he sees his family waiting for him in the wheat fields. As he dies, Lucilla and the senators recognize him as Rome's real rescuer. Lucilla murmurs, "Go to them," bringing him calm. Instead of cheering, the Colosseum crowd stares solemnly. He never fought for power, only for the restoration of Rome. His death guarantees a brighter future. His vision of his family proves that he was never meant to reign, but rather to reunite with them. With Commodus gone and Maximus's sacrifice, Rome now has a chance to recover and restore its prestige. Maximus stumbled and collapsed. The camera tilts downward to reflect his transition from life to death. The soft lighting and subtle fade to his vision of his family accentuate the concept of spiritual liberation. The hand sweeping over the wheat fields, a recurring motif, appears again, visually connecting this moment to the peace he seeks. Hans Zimmer's "Now We Are Free" is played slowly, with a tune that blends sadness with elation. the echoes of the Colosseum fade away, leaving only the gentle sounds of nature as he reunites with his family in the hereafter. The camera lingers on Maximus's physique as the Romans recognize him, not as a slave, but as a legend. The fade to black indicates that Gladiator is about more than one man's vengeance. It is also about restoring Rome's glory. Hans Zimmer's composition in Gladiator's climactic combat shapes the emotional depth of the moment, beyond mere accompaniment to become a key storytelling aspect. The combat begins in near stillness, enabling the raw sounds of swords and heavy breathing to add intensity and reality. As Maximus regains control, the music gradually swells with rich orchestral tones, announcing his victory while maintaining a gloomy undertone. The change to "Now We Are Free" with its ethereal vocals turns the emphasis from victory to sacrifice, stressing Maximus's search for peace rather than conquest. The melancholy yet uplifting music makes his death feel like a transcendence into legend rather than an end. Instead of victorious fanfare, the soundtrack leaves the audience with a sense of reflection, emphasizing that Maximus's ultimate legacy is not revenge, but the restoration of Rome's honor. The climactic confrontation between Maximus and Commodus is more than just a battle. It represents the ultimate resolve of Gladiator's major themes such as justice, honor, sacrifice, and redemption. Commodus, the embodiment of tyranny and deception, meets his demise not via spectacle, but through poetic justice, demonstrating that true power derives from integrity rather than manipulation. Despite being gravely wounded, Maximus succeeds not just in battle, but also in spirit, performing his final duty to Rome and securing a corruption-free future. His death is not a tragedy, but rather a relief. His journey concludes in peace, reuniting him with his family in the afterlife. The Colosseum crowd's silent appreciation rather than cheers indicates that this was never just entertainment, but a restoration of order. In the end, Gladiator changes from an epic narrative of retribution to a timeless story of legacy, demonstrating that while tyrants may reign for a time, great heroes live on in history. The visual arrangement of this scene transforms the scenario from a simple fight to a meaningful cinematic experience. Ridley Scott's excellent use of light, framing, and camera movement heightens the emotional and symbolic significance of the scene. The contrast between the gloomy, shadowy dungeon and the brightly lighted Colosseum artistically depicts Maximus's journey from suffering to spiritual redemption. Close-ups of Commodus's frightened faces and Maximus's calm resolve highlight the power dynamic between the two characters. The progressive shift from chaotic handheld shots to steady, regulated framing reflects Maximus's developing power, while the muted sound design adds to the impression of solitude and inevitability. Every visual choice, from the Colosseum's golden tones to the slow-motion inserts, adds to the scene's beautiful aura. This exquisite visual storytelling elevates the conflict beyond mere entertainment, transforming it into a meditation on mortality, honor, and the triumph of integrity over tyranny. Did you enjoy the video? Please go through our channel to find more interesting breakdowns of famous scenes of brilliant movies. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.